Welcome to the fourth episode of the Prodigy Project podcast, where we explore stories of resilience, transformation, and overcoming adversity. I'm your host, Trey Marr, and today we have an awesome guest, Lisa Bodenburg. Lisa is a United States Marine Corps door gunner, a USA boxer, weight loss coach, motivational speaker, and an NPC champ. She's going to share her journey of her military experience, building resilience, mental health issues, and her whole journey. So I look forward to hearing it. Lisa, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
First question I'd like to ask you is, what does the word resilience mean to you?
That's tough. Trying to put a definition to it. Resilience is a large, broad term. If I narrowed it down, I would say one's ability to continue pressing ahead, although the surrounding circumstances might be extremely difficult.
That's great. I love that. What motivated you to go into the military and then also pursue a career in weight loss coaching and motivational speaking? And which one came first, I guess?
Let's start with the military because those are two
Okay.
very different topics.
Okay.
What motivated me to be in the military was during high school, I recognized that, we learn about every other country's history first. And then when we finally get to American history, it was my junior year. And I just was overwhelmed with patriotism. And I felt where, as most people in this country feel like it's their right to live here and their freedoms are their rights, I felt that it was a privilege. So I wanted to earn my place here to secure those freedoms, and not only for myself, but for those who can't, because the military is not for everyone. So I knew that calling at a very early age that this was for me.
Well, how old were you?
I was 17. I was
No
17.
way.
Actually, I
Holy
was probably
shit.
16 in my junior year.
What?
Yeah, because
That's
I
so,
graduated at 17. I did not go right into the Marine Corps. I had to go to college first because I graduated high school early, and
okay, wow.
my mother wouldn't sign the paperwork for me to go in.
You
So
weren't
I
18, right? Yeah.
yeah, I went to college for a little while until I turned 18. Once I turned 18, I finished the semester, and then I left immediately.
You knew exactly that's what you wanted to do.
Oh, absolutely. I
That's
needed
so
a bigger
sick.
challenge. I was in the criminal justice field and working with my police department. I have great memories and had great leadership with what's called the Explorer program. But I was very quickly realizing that it was not enough of a challenge for me. I had already gone through the physical fitness test and the police exam, and I was excelling and leading, everyone in in that time. So I needed a bigger challenge. I needed something where I didn't know if I could make it. I needed something to challenge me enough to make me think, what if I can't do this? And so
Yeah.
that was my biggest decision on why the Marine Corps over every other branch. I knew I wanted to go into the Marine Corps right away. My oldest brother, Lewis, he said, I will support you. However, you need to go do your due diligence and go check out every other branch first. And if you're still sold on the Marine Corps, then I'll support you. I was like, absolutely. So I did. I went and I spoke to all the other recruiters, and it only solidified my decision to choose the Marine Corps.
No
Um,
way.
it's the most elite branch in my mind. Every other branch is they're wonderful, and they all have their own specialties, and they all play their own role. But one thing that I've learned while being in the Marine Corps the last 18 years is we are the branch that has the most pride, the most heritage. We know the date we were born, where we were created. Every Marine, knows these things. We know every piece of our uniform and where it comes from and the history behind it. So there's what's called an esprit de corps within the United States Marine Corps, and it's just second to none. It can't be matched.
The specific role as the door gunner, how has that shaped you, and what can you tell us about that specifically?
Um, how has that shaped me?
Because
Well,
that was
when
like that challenge, right? That you were saying like that, like, hey, can I do this?
Yes, I didn't join the Marine Corps to be a door gunner. I didn't actually know what a door gunner was. And I didn't even know the difference between what kind of helicopters we had and the jobs that they had. And, there's fixed wing, you could be a crew chief on fixed wing as well. So there was so many different options. And I really had no idea what I was specifically going for. But I think the Lord knew that he was going to put people in my path to help, forge that path for me, because it all ended up boiling down to whichever step along the way someone was going to tell me, like, hey, you can't do that. And I was like, okay, well, watch me. And so that would make my choice for me. They made it easy for me. Like, oh no, females can't do that, or females have never done that, or whatever step along the way that brought me all the way to the point where I'm now in the fleet as a helicopter door gunner on Hueys.
That's so sick.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did that help shape me? It helped push me. It helped me realize I am capable of anything I put my mind to. It definitely helped me learn incredible leadership along the way and how important that is, as well as how I can learn from the bad leaders as well. Because, like I said, I had a lot of people along that path that were telling me, you can't do it, you'll never make it.
How do you feel that physical fitness intertwined with mental health? What's your experience with that throughout your military experience and now just in general? Like, how would you describe the mixing together?
Physical fitness and mental health are one and the same. If your physical health is down, so is your mental, and vice versa. If your physical health is good, your mental health is usually good. They are absolutely connected. Our brains release dopamine and serotonin when we exercise. So as we work out and as we challenge our bodies are releasing feel good hormones. So they are absolutely intertwined, more so than most people would like to admit. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I fall back on discipline instead of motivation. Don't get me wrong, I love to motivate people. The Lord created me to lead, motivate, and inspire others. And I love doing that every step of the way, all day. And it's such an honor when someone tells me that my story inspired them, or what I said inspired them, or they read something I did in a book and it inspired them. Because that little glimpse, if I can just give that little glimmer of hope to someone else, they can then take the steps to completely change their lives in just such a small moment. Um, but yeah, bringing it back to that health and fitness, that's why I'm such a big proponent of discipline, that although I love to motivate and it's part of who I am, and we can all be motivated at times, what do you do when you're not? That's when you fall back on your discipline. I am not motivated to get out of bed every day and go to the gym. I'm just not. Most days, yes, absolutely. But there are plenty of days where I'm like, I don't feel it. And so that's when I force myself, and I'm falling back on my discipline. I know when I need to go. I also know when I need a rest. That's okay as well. You can see both sides of the coin, but being disciplined enough to put in the work when you need to, that you're going to then feel better. Just as I explained earlier, those hormones are going to be released, and you're going to be so grateful looking back that you did the work.
Love that. So that's a key character trait you've ingrained within yourself.
Absolutely. And if it wasn't for the Marine Corps, I would not be nearly as disciplined as I am today. The Marine Corps absolutely changed my life. The
Wow.
the person I was going to boot camp, just a few short months later, I was a completely different person. And that was only the tip. That was only the beginning of a journey, learning from, hardships, learning from successes, and learning to be more disciplined in my own personal life.
So the military definitely can help you develop and ingrain those key character traits that, are really valuable to have as a leader.
Absolutely.
Can you discuss military mental health and any personal experiences you have with the subject?
Mental health has become more of an epidemic in the recent years than ever before. And I don't think it's only specific to the military. However, my experiences with veterans, and especially those transitioning, either when it was a time of war, when we were transitioning out of a time of war, which I struggled with very deeply. Also, transitioning out of the military is also something extremely difficult to handle and to deal with. You lose a sense of self and a sense of purpose. You're no longer being forced to get out of bed at a certain time, show up to work at a certain time. You're not surrounded by a tribe, by a community that you once were in the military. So there's a plethora of us who suffer and continue to suffer. And yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't expect to get so choked up over this. I just lost someone.
Sorry.
It's my buddy Gio. He was a great Marine. He was in special forces. He was a recon Marine. And I didn't know him in the Marine Corps. I knew him through politics after he had been out. And he just recently took his life. And it's awful to see and to know his history, and to know he's been out for so many years in what appeared to be thriving in the civilian world, and to get that text message. It's just heartbreaking, because it doesn't seem to get any, it never gets easier losing someone, but the problem doesn't seem to be going away. So yeah, it's something that I've struggled with in the past, and I am very open to talk about it now. I remember when I first started talking about it, I was very afraid to put it on the internet. I was very afraid to tell almost anybody, because my past, which I had, lightly explained in this conversation, was so drilled into my head that you're not good enough, you're never going to make it, you're too weak. And so I was always in this mindset for years and years that I need to show how strong I am and I need to prove myself. So if I then admitted that I was struggling mentally, it was only going to prove all of those haters right. So that's what I struggled with for such a long time, until I realized, like, the Lord really put it on my heart that I needed to share this. And one of the most beautiful things to come out of it is, and one person, one individual precisely comes to mind, the exact Marine that I was afraid would come out and say, man, I told you so. See, this is why we knew you couldn't hack it. He was actually the exact Marine who reached out and said, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm struggling too. So in our moments of weakness, that can actually be strength. It takes strength to share those parts of your lives, of our lives, and it takes strength to talk about them and to get the help you need. And we think that we need to hide it from everyone, but we don't.
That's crazy. I literally remember saying the other day, especially the younger generation, how with social media, everything's like fake, everything is just like this facade of perfection and this facade of like, um, always great mental health. And we think that we're doing ourselves a service by acting like we're perfect and acting like everything's always okay. But yet we would probably help so many more people by being vulnerable and by admitting that we all are imperfect and struggle. So that way other people don't feel alone. That's basically what you're saying. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There's strength in your vulnerability.
Which is
Everyone wants
hard
to,
to do, right? And then when you finally do it, like it's
definitely,
amazing.
you never know who you're going to be able to help. I still, to this day, it
All the
was
time.
Mission Barbecue who did a story on me, and it was absolutely beautifully done. And they put it up. They posted it on social media. This is many, many years ago. I still, to this day, get people who find that story on Facebook or the internet or wherever, and they find me and they reach out and they say something along the lines of, I was going to end it, or I was at the end of my rope, or I didn't think I could make it another day and I found your story. So thank you. You know, and that's not me. Like, I don't want you or any of the listeners to think that that's me. That is not. The fact that I had the strength to share my story, yeah, I'll take credit for finally stepping up to make that decision. But I truly believe that that's the Lord. All glory to him. He's the one who's making that video pop up in that person's feed. He's the one who's giving the, everybody who's having those thoughts a chance, an opportunity to see that they're not alone. So I don't ever want to take credit for anything like that, but I do want to encourage others to step up, because again, you never know who you can help save.
Do you think that most people, just boys and girls in general, especially people in positions of leadership like you, there's this stigma of mental health? For guys, for instance, like you'll be called a pussy or, or weak, or for girls, you're too emotional, and people don't seek the professional mental health because it's embarrassing, I guess, for some people. People like, do you think that's one of the main problems, is that the stigma surrounding mental health, getting help?
Yeah, definitely. For especially for the military, because we're supposed to be the strong ones. We're supposed to be these warriors and these badasses that, nothing affects us and we're killers. And, yeah, guess what? That is all true, but it doesn't mean we're not human. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
that's not going to affect us in the long run. So that can be absolutely part of the problem, because it's scary to be the one to put your hand up and say, hey, I need help. It's so much easier for people like us, alphas, to be the one that's like, hey, I got it. I'll show it. I'll show you how to do that. Or, hey, let me help you. It's very, very difficult to say, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, or I need help.
Proven to the point that you can be this warrior, that you are strong and mighty and confident, but it's still okay to struggle. And that gives other people hope. And when they see that someone in your position who's, achieved so much, still struggles, they can resonate with you. And it's like, we're all in this same exact journey. Like everyone is suffering in their own way, or has. Um, and it's just, the fact that you've achieved all these things and are being vulnerable is very inspiring for everybody.
I appreciate that. I think that one thing that if anyone can take away just one thing from this, it's you never know what someone's going through. So whether you're talking to someone at the grocery store or the checkout line, or somebody that cut you off in traffic, or a coworker that you really don't like, you never know when you're in conversation with them what they're going through. So you can impact them and you can truly help exacerbate their problem, or you can be a reason for them to get the help that they need. So keeping that in the back of their mind, just showing a little bit of grace to everybody. You might not agree with them, you may not like them, but it doesn't mean that you can't help them survive or make their day a little bit brighter.
You have this mindset that's just, it's so developed into resilience. And how would you say, what advice would you give the younger generation, I guess people that are 18 to 25, to get out of the victim mentality that our generation has, and to develop? People want to be like, oh, I've went through this, I've went through that. Like, how do you, instead of using that as a crutch for excuse, how do we use that to become more like you, to become more like, leaders?
That's a great question, because I think that the victim mentality is taking over society right now, and it's terrible. You're not a victim. Stop thinking that you're a victim. That has to be the first step. Take that mentality and throw it in the trash, because it's not going to do any good for you, and it's not going to do any good for society or those surrounding you. That doesn't mean, like we just talked about, that you can't ask for help, but asking for help doesn't make you a victim. So
Wow.
being able to go through the hard things, choose something that's hard, choose something that's going to challenge you and that's going to stretch you and push your limits. Stop choosing the easy way out. Stop choosing the major that you don't have to do any work, you have to do the least amount of work to get the credit. Stop choosing the job that you're just barely making ends meet because nobody's checking in on you. Make the decisions that are hard, that are going to stretch you and push you and challenge you. being a victim isn't going to, like I said, help you or help anyone that's, in your circle or in your sphere of influence. So we got to get rid of that. It's no good, it's not healthy, and it's no good for society. So what I think we need instead of a victim mentality is a more grateful mindset. We have to be grateful for what's already in front of us instead of being acting like a victim from our circumstances. If we can focus on gratitude and what we already have, now, after we master that, now we get to focus on how we can make it better. So being grateful for what we have, now how can I add to this? How can I add to my community? How can I add to my church? How can I help the school board more? Whatever sphere or circle that you're in, if you are grateful for what you have and you start there, now you can begin a life of service. After you feel that gratitude, now how can I serve? How can I serve others? How can I serve the community? How can I give back? Now, automatically, the victim mindset's not even there because you're focused on succeeding. You're focused on serving others. And I'll tell you a trick. Even when I'm at my lowest, if I find an outlet to serve others, selfishly, that makes me feel better. So even when you're feeling at your absolute lowest and you're feeling your absolute worst, put yourself in a position to go help somebody else because you're going to walk away feeling 10 times better as well.
That's amazing because it proves to the point that our generation's suffering because all they focus on is themselves. If you go on TikTok and social media, it's them, us, you. Like, your mindset is essential for the world to change. Like, how if everyone's focused on themselves, of course they're gonna suffer, right? Then we'll only focus on our insecurities and all of our pain and depression. And so you're basically like, how to fix that is to serve others, to help other people.
Absolutely. You got it.
I love that. That's amazing. You mentioned the Lord or God. Do you think that for this generation, the younger generation, the only hope to see them change into people of service, into leaders, is through finding God, a relationship with God?
No, I don't think that's the only hope. The Christian in me and what I believe in heaven and hell. I believe that if you accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your savior, that you're going to heaven. So, according to my beliefs, of course, I want everyone to be a Christian. I want everyone to know the Jesus that I know, that the one that died for me, because he died for you too, whether you believe in him or not. However, I don't believe it's our only hope because there are other religions that have a very similar mindset. They have a mindset of service and taking their mindset off of the individual. If that's the case, that's fine. And now this is where the American in me comes out, that we have those freedoms in this country to choose to worship in the way that you decide. And that's what's beautiful. And I will always fight for that. I will always fight for everyone's right in this country to believe and worship in whomever they choose, even if it's not something that I agree with. And I think that has become so polarized, not only with religion, but with everything. Of course, with politics. Instead of focusing on, you have to see it my way on any topic that you choose, you should focus on, how can I still respect you to see it your way while still believing what my truths are? That should be the focus. If everyone could understand that we shouldn't all think alike. If we all thought the exact same way, it would be a pretty boring world.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful things about America is the freedom to choose. So whether that is a religion or it's, your sense of service or patriotism or whatever the case may be, the foundation needs to be service towards others and respecting others' viewpoints, even if they're different from yours.
Very honorable perspective. As you were saying that, I literally was just thinking of how impactful it would be in front of an audience of like hundreds of people. And then it's just like, well, that's why you're a motivational speaker.
Imagine if the imagine if our leaders had that mindset. I think, unfortunately, our politics are showing a lack of leadership. So, for anyone out there who is in a leadership role, no matter how small, that's the way that we can change. That's the way that we can help others and change this mentality and focus on unity instead of division.
How would you say that your relationship with God and through Christianity has helped you in your life? Because I've recently become um much more involved than I've ever been in Christianity, and it's only helped my life in positive aspects. I would like to hear about your insight. Seems like you are very grateful for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jesus saved my life on more than a couple of occasions. Not only did he come to earth and choose to die for you and I, but he has absolutely stepped up, and I have stories for you where I shouldn't be alive today. And not everyone has those stories about life or death, but in some way, shape, or form, once you meet Christ, it's life changing. So technically it is life or death, because we're
Yeah.
talking about what happens after we leave the physical body, and that's eternal life. I will forever be grateful for his sacrifice. And it wasn't until recently where I made this connection in my mind. Now, if we could back up a little bit and refer to the veterans and my military time and how passionate I am about, my fellow Marines. I've lost so many Marines, whether that be in combat or, you know, other incidences or suicide. But specifically speaking of the men that I lost in combat, that is something that is always going to be difficult to deal with and to accept. And we all have to deal with that in our own way. But these men knew what they were doing when they signed on the dotted line. And they knew that they were possibly going to have to sacrifice their life for the good of their countrymen. So of course I'm passionate about that. Of course that is going to light a fire in me and mean more to me than almost anything else. That's why I wear this bracelet with 4 Marines' names that died in Afghanistan with me in 2009. I will never go another day without honoring their memory. It wasn't until recently that that connection in my mind was made, that so did Jesus Christ. He was the first one to ever do that. He was the first man to ever willingly die for his other, for fellow man, for someone else, for us. So of course I'm passionate about that,
Yeah.
right? It's the same exact thing. And he knew it. He knew it before he even became, you know, came to that point. He knew it his entire life, and he was still willing to do it. That's
Awesome.
sacrifice. That's service. I think that's why I'm so passionate about sacrifice and service today. I
It's
want to
what's
be
made you into who
more
you
like
are.
Christ.
Yeah, I mean, your leadership and your mindset is just, I would say it's a description of what every person should strive for. It's amazing. It really is.
I mean, I appreciate that, but I trust me, man. I got my bad days too. I have plenty of friends where I can call up and I can bitch and complain and all right, like, you done yet? So,
I love how you mentioned Christianity. It's just I didn't even know we were gonna get to talk about that, and that's really cool. It's really like changed my life because I think in the younger generation, I don't know if you looked at Instagram stuff, it's just all me, and I'm like, if I get more followers, then I'll like, be in a position to like help other people. It was like so backward. It's why like my whole life's about me. No wonder I'm suffering. No wonder I feel like shit all the time, you know? And then when I been more into Christianity, turning more towards God, thinking about how I can help others, like 3 months, my life's just dramatically changed. It's like completely renewing of your mind.
definitely. Look at Mother Teresa. She was not known for doing anything grand. She didn't have one big thing where we can point to history and be like, wow, yeah, Mother Teresa was responsible for that. She lived a life of service and small acts of service, but she did so in such a way her entire life that now she left a legacy and everyone knows who she is.
Yeah,
There's no reason you can't be the same.
I love that. Thank you, Lisa. You just helped really completely helped me within these 40 minutes, like profoundly. I mean, it's you're saying everything that like I personally need to hear as well. It's about service and gratitude. Gratitude has been the most impactful thing. And I think that I've found that through finding God. When you like pray and you count your blessings and you say thank you, then start to focus on those things. Our generation just focuses on what we don't have, right?
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I think that our generation needs to have a relationship with God. And I think that's why it's the most suffering generation or the most lost, right? Like that's what people say, like the most lost, because it's like the first generation that's just completely away from God, away from Christianity, I feel like. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. We have never seen the devil so alive and thriving and in our faces like we
Yeah.
do in current day. It's on our TV screens, it's on a national stage, it's now on an international stage with the Olympics. I mean,
Yeah.
devil is thriving in our society. So absolutely, we are completely lost without God.
And it's frustrating for people to not be open-minded to that, to not like most, I feel like in my case, you tell someone that, right? And they're just like, oh, you're crazy. It's think a little bit deeper. Like open your mind to see all of the things that are corrupting the young minds today, with lust and evil and social media. And it's like no wonder our generation is suffering, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the devil disguises himself as fun, happy, wealth, joy, peace. He disguises himself as that until he gets a hold of you. And that's when you realize behind closed doors, you're broken, you're sad, you're lonely, there's despair. So at that point, he's got you. You think that you're going to get all these wonderful things, but it's a complete fraud until you realize, man, is this rock bottom? And sometimes it takes people to hit rock bottom before they're willing to recognize the truth and recognize that there's another way. You know, you're not going to be filling that void in your heart by bringing somebody different into your bed every night. You're
Yeah.
not going to feel that loneliness by choosing to do all these deviant acts that seem to be very attractive. You're not going to fill that. The only thing that can fill that void and that loneliness and provide hope for an everlasting life is Jesus Christ.
I love that. It has us chasing, the devil has us chasing the money, the lust, the materialism, and we all feel empty, right? It's pretty apparent that we're chasing after the wrong things, not, I mean, just as a whole generation, the followers and the validation and partying. It makes, just me, I love, I'm resonating with you right now a lot. That's really cool.
It's awesome.
So I think just for everyone in general, including military people, including people your age, people my age, what advice do you have for people that are struggling, that do feel alone and that are scared to seek help because they don't want to be embarrassed or feel weak?
Yeah, I just want to remind people that they're not alone. Life can feel very, very lonely, but you're not the only person feeling what you're feeling, thinking what you're thinking, going through what you're going through. There has been somebody who's already gone through that. There's somebody that's currently going through that, and there's going to be someone else in the future that will go through that. So you're not alone. So the sooner you speak up about it and get the help that you need, the better off you are and the better off those around you are going to be. Surrounding yourself with good people. If you just take like a step back and look at your life, who are the 7 people that you hang out with the most? That's the sum total of the person that you become. So if you're surrounding yourself with drug addicts and punks and thieves and thugs, that's what you're going to become. If you're surrounding yourself with hard workers, those who have high integrity, individuals who are challenging themselves to step up, you're going to become like that as well.
I say you're almost doing your friends and family a disservice by not getting help because like the stigma with, let's say, alpha males with, no, fuck that. Like, I'm not gonna get help. Like, all right, well then, you'll end up almost probably emotionally exploding in some other way on someone else, drinking too much. I don't know. I just feel like the stigma is, especially like being emotional as a guy. It's like, why don't you get help, get right, get better, and then you can help more people, right?
Definitely. And especially if you're an individual who's in a family setting, you're going to make your family sick. You're going to make them feel your pain and you're going to make them suffer the longer that you wait to get help for yourself.
What do you think we should do for mental health advocacy for military veterans, for military personnel, or just, people in general? I guess, like you said, being vulnerable is one amazing thing we can do. Like, what else do you think?
Community is huge. So if you know a veteran that has just transitioned out of the military and they moved back home, and especially if back home is nowhere near any military base that they were a part of, reach out to them, check in on them, and often. We went from being surrounded by our buddies and our leaders and those who are helping us to step up and challenge ourselves and become greater humans to not being around almost anyone. And that can make you lose your sense of purpose, your self-worth, and your desire to take one more day. So being involved, and if you're the person listening to this that you are feeling that way, you are the person that needs the help, go get involved. Get involved in a church, get involved in a veteran organization. There's meetup groups, there's apps that do it. I joined a dinner club once. Like
Nice.
there are so many ways that you can get involved and meet more people and surround yourself with a community. You have to build your tribe. The devil wants to isolate us. And when we isolate and separate, that's when those evil thoughts creep in. And that's when we end up taking action that you can never undo.
That's so
So
true.
surrounding yourself with a community and a tribe, it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village for us to be able to thrive.
That's so true. Isolate yourself, then you get depressed, then you feel like you're a loser, social anxiety. So basically also, having community is also being disciplined enough to force yourself to go out and be social and to go do those things. You can't just sit inside on your phone and expect to meet people, right? So it's on you to go and do that.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're feeling so down, shoot a text to somebody who's going to come to you. Pick up the phone and make that phone call to somebody who's going to come and sit on your couch. You don't need the excuse of I don't have money or I don't have a car to get there or whatever other excuse you want to think of. I guarantee that there's someone that's willing to come over and sit on your couch with you.
I love that.
I'm sure you can make coffee in your house,
Yeah.
whatever the
Yeah.
case. So it doesn't have to be a big thing, but reaching out and helping those who need it and reaching out to ask for help when you need it.
What do you think people can do? So apart from community, what do you think people can do to cultivate gratitude and discipline?
Discipline is a choice. It is a choice every single day. So fitness, for example, if you only have the hours between 6 and 7 to work out, when your alarm goes off at 5:30, you have a choice whether you're going to hit snooze or whether you're going to get out of bed. But nobody's going to make that choice but you. So you're the only person to blame when you don't choose to be disciplined. Once you can face that, then you can understand the choices that you're going to make are are only are only your own. So if you can face that in the mirror, it's usually a good indicator of whether or not you're going to, choose discipline or not. Most people will fall back and they want excuses. They're going to blame it on something else or somebody else. It's not, it's nobody's fault but yours. Gratitude, I think you have to practice it. There has been plenty of times in my life where I didn't feel like I had a single thing to be grateful for. So you know what I started with? Thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for this pen that I'm writing with in this journal. Lord, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for caring about what I listen to. You probably have a cell phone. Thank you for this cell phone that I get to have. There's plenty of people in this world who still don't have access to technology or clean water. So it's very unlikely anyone listening to this does not have something to be thankful for.
Yeah. Say for anyone watching that, so how do I stop suffering, or how do I stop or overcome it? To be like you said, cultivate a sense of gratitude, develop a relationship with Christ, and lead a life of service. Those three things together renew your mind into developing into a new version of you, I guess, right?
I mean, those three things right there, you're set, man. You're set for life. Not only are you set, but you're going to go change the world.
Set for life. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. What strategies or practices do you have for your personal clients to develop resilience, mentally and physically?
I think the biggest factor with this one is you can't be afraid of failure. Will Smith has an awesome quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it because I usually never get it right, but fail often, fail early, and fail forward. So don't be afraid to fail, because if you are, you're never going to take the steps to then challenge yourself. And if you're not challenging yourself, you'll never have the opportunity to become resilient. So if you want to find out if you're resilient, or if you want to build resilience, then you need to push yourself to failure. Using fitness as an example, that's one of the best ways to get the gains that we want to get and to build the muscle, is by putting the muscle under tension to the point that it fails. If you ask any bodybuilder or anybody in the gym, you're literally doing the exercise until you can no longer do it. That's called failure. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Now your muscle grows back bigger and stronger than before. So will you.
Facing challenge. So I think that's why I emphasize fitness so much with like I feel like for for the younger generation, fitness needs to be like forefront of changing their lives, because it's going to be that first thing that they can begin with that challenges them, that they can grow and develop and transform. Um, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Fitness can change your life. If you put yourself first and put your fitness first, you will see an increase in your salary. You'll see an increase in your family life and your friends and your social circle. You can get a promotion. You carry yourself, increase in your confidence. It is literally the quickest and easiest thing that you can do to level up your entire life. Imagine the way that you walk around now, getting a little bit healthier, a little bit stronger, and looking a little bit better. You're going to carry yourself differently. You're going to strut yourself in a room with your chest ablaze and your head held high. That impacts you. That impacts those around you. So fitness is the easiest and quickest thing that you can do to level up everything in your life.
Wow. What do you think about social media in the younger generation, and also just social media and its involvement in the world today? Do you think it's negative, positive, or yeah, what's your opinion?
I think it's just a time filler. Um, I definitely use social media to help influence others in a positive way, but I'd say that the vast majority of people use social media as just a time filler. It can be a great way to stay in touch with people. For example, the military, right? We have friends that are all over the country, all over the world. great way to stay in touch and keep in touch with those that you live far from. But it's basically just a time filler. There's other ways that you can stay in touch with people if you put in the effort. There's other ways that you can motivate people and help serve those and focus on your local community instead of trying to impress the world. I'd say the biggest thing on social media is it's causing everyone to be lazy and they believe everything they read. There are so many people who put time and effort and money into making false statements and false narratives. There's videos out there that are complete lies, completely fabricated. And just because it's on the internet, people will believe it.
Yeah. Do you think it's caused the wave of depression in the younger generation? Do you think social media has to do with that and anxiety as well?
Yeah, I think it can. Because everyone's posting their highlight reel. Not many
Yeah.
people posting the day that they, didn't make their PR or the day that they didn't, you know, get the promotion. They're not
Yeah.
posting that stuff. They're posting their highlight reel. And then it somehow makes us feel less than. Yeah, but you're not. You're not less worthy. You're not less than anyone else. You're just simply comparing yourself to a false narrative.
Comparing yourself to a false narrative. That's amazing quote right there. Comparing yourself to a false narrative. It's not even real. Are there any specific programs or initiatives for the military regarding mental health that you would like to talk about or that you think is significant?
Yes, actually. Um, there are psychedelic medicines that have been studied, and unfortunately, in America, those drugs are illegal. And it is my personal belief that those drugs are illegal because they help heal and they don't help fund big pharma. So I would like to encourage veterans or
Wow.
anyone that's to look into safe alternatives such as psychedelic medicines.
I never thought about it that way. So if they ban those, then people have to rely on big pharma for other medications, and then that's crazy.
Here's a
Holy
story for
crap.
you. When I first got off active duty, I was injured many years ago and I had to get out I had to get out of the Marine Corps. And I enrolled in the VA system. My very first time at a VA hospital, I went and saw all the doctors, ping ponged around, and they're like, "All right, your last step on this little check sheet that I had was to go to the pharmacy." I was like, "Well, for what?" Like, "Oh, you have to go get all these prescriptions," which I didn't even know I was being prescribed. I am not exaggerating when I tell you they called my name up and they had a cardboard box full of 9 medicines, huge pill bottles. They slid across. I will never forget that. And I have memory damage. I will never forget that cardboard box full of 9 different pill bottles that they slid across. Here you go. Have a great day. Pills are not always the answer. And if we are kept in a state where we are constantly sick, then pharma can constantly make money off of us. Because once we're healed, we don't need them.
They don't want that.
Yeah,
Dang.
I'm not afraid to say it.
That's awesome.
Careful though, someone's outside my house right now.
That's good. Okay, so for our listeners who want to learn more about you or get help from you, how can they do that, or what ways do you want them to reach you?
Instagram, definitely the best way. You're going to see the majority of my posts there. The majority of Instagram's the best way to get a hold of me. Um, it's Lisa Bodenburg. That's it. That's my handle. Pretty
Okay, I'll
simple.
put it up there
I'm the
too.
one, I'm the one who manages it. I always say in a lot of my videos, like, I'm real, I'm human, and I'm here to serve you. So
Yeah,
if you ever find yourself talking to someone on my Instagram, it's me. And if it's not, I will tell you. I will tell you that I have, I'm going to send you to someone who's going to help book a call with me or, get in a program with me. But that's just simply somebody that helps me with admin work. But yeah, it's me.
yeah,
I'm
you're a
here to
very
serve
very
one.
authentic person. Yeah, everyone very can tell like early on, I admire that a lot. Very
Thank
genuine
you.
as well. All right, so I'll put that up there. And then so the weight loss coaching primarily, you'll do that virtually as well, right? So for people that don't live where you live, they can still get help from you.
Yeah, I do it all virtually now. I write
Okay,
customized
wow.
meal and customized workout routines. We'll come up with an accountability schedule and do check-ins and
Nice.
just help you crush. It's
All
very
right.
simple. It's a very, very simple way for me to help people. It's for me, I can within the first 5 to 10 minutes of talking to someone, I know exactly what their problem is and how to fix it. And then all they got to do is just listen to me, trust the process, and their lives are changed.
I love it. That's awesome. How can you integrate mental health, resilience, and physical fitness into one integrated approach? Obviously, that's what you do for your clients, right? So if someone's not able to work with you, I guess what advice would you give them?
Never give up. It's just that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this grand master plan. Just get up and do the work and never stop.
Okay.
I believe that there are a plethora of things that you can do to help your physical and mental health that are outside the normal, such as ice baths. I'm a huge proponent of ice baths
Nice
and what that
plungers.
does for you. Your
Nice.
dopamine levels double over 200% within the first 24 hours of getting out of an ice bath for 7 minutes. I mean, who doesn't want those feel good hormones rushing
Yeah.
through their body?
Yeah.
Plus the amount of recovery in your muscles. I mean, yeah, that's a whole other conversation we'll have to get into another time. But
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You've shared, profound insight, profound wisdom. And first of all, which I should have said right away, is thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done to sacrifice for our country and all the commitments and sacrifices you've made. Um, Not only to my generation, but you've just shared deeply personal things that are very vulnerable, very emotional, and you've touched me. I'm sure anyone who watches this is going to be touched. Within, less than an hour of talking to you, you've already changed so many perspectives within me, and you've impacted me within an hour. So I can't imagine, you know, when you're on that big stage, how many people all the lives you're gonna change. It's really cool. And I hope you get like that Tony Robbins stage one day, because I bet you'll kick ass. So.
God willing.
As always, we always restate our mission statement at the end of each episode. I am a warrior, a symbol of intense passion and extreme resiliency. I stand high, driven by purpose to better the lives of those around me and inspire a new generation. My character is defined by discipline, integrity, and honor. I embrace the darkness and rise above it. The Prodigy Project. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4 of the Prodigy Project podcast. We hope that you enjoyed it. I'm really grateful that Lisa was able to join us. She shared an insane amount of valuable information, great insight into mental health issues, how to overcome them, and just, a wonderful story from her. Thank you guys so much for watching. More episodes to come.